Hey everyone, Vicky here. Hope you're all doing well. I'm going to show you how I made this lovely card for someone's special's birthday. So I'm going to use the little sloths from the Time for TB Slothy, and I have stamped these out using my extreme black. I'm going to show you the colouring for the top little sloth, who I have lovingly nicknamed Cedric. And then the rest I'm going to colour off screen because I'm using the same colours and the same principles for all of them. So I'm starting with some earth browns for the branch, and I'm having the light source on all these branches coming from above, so the darkest shades will be to the bottom and where my little Cedric will be casting his shadow. And then I'm just going to use the lighter shade for the two little teeny tiny branches that poke off from there. And then I've got the light green shades to do the leaves. All these are getting coloured with my tri-blends, my tried, tested and true marker colour of choice at the moment, although I am slowly branching out to try other markers. I have a couple of Copics, but nowhere near enough to colour an image like this, so tri-blends it is. I'm using the brown grey blend and the brown grey shades, so the shades are the darker ones and the blends are the lighter. So I'm going to use the shades for his body. So that'll be colouring in the bits that are furthest down, the bits that will be hidden by shadow, so the bottoms of his arms, the bit of his belly that is covered by his arms, and his head's casting a shadow onto it. And then I'm just fading away from the darkest to the lightest of the three shades that come in my tri-blend on those, and just going over the last colour slightly to pull the colour shades out. And I'm just going to use the two of the lighter shades in the darker pen just for his little eye patches. And then I'm going to colour the rest of his face using the lighter shades because I like to keep faces quite light, if at all possible, when characters have got quite cute little expressions, because I don't want to distract from those expressions. And then I'm just going to quickly colour the other ones off screen. So please do bear with me while I do that. And that is a lovely shot of my arm, which is just what everybody wanted to see, I'm sure. So these are my nicely coloured in little images, and I'm going to use the corresponding dies that come from the stamp set to trim those out. And then I can get on with working on the background to my image, and I'm just using some low tack tape to stick those down. To be perfectly honest, I don't remember actually recording me sticking these down at the time. Evidently, I think I must have pressed record and not realised, but hey, we'll roll with it. So I do always use just some low tack masking tape to make sure I stick those down, because the last thing I want is for them to move and the images to get chopped in half when I put them through my die cut machine. That would totally and utterly defy the point of everything that I've been doing with them. So that's that going into my die cut machine. Again, as you can see, my hoodie going across the screen. Proof that I really didn't realise I was doing that. So I'm going to be using these 4 shades of Distress Oxides to do my background. I've already cut this just using a Lawn Fawn stitch rectangle, slimline stitch rectangle. So I'm going to hold my paper down with this piece of tissue, just to make sure that it is, my fingerprints don't get all over it. So I'm using my blending brush to put down my squeezed lemonade. And then I think that one is the carved pumpkin. So I'm going to slowly blend those two together. So each shade is going to take up roughly a quarter of this background. So I always start with the lightest colours and work my way up. So I did the yellow, then I put in my lighter orange, and then I'm just going back over with that lemonade just to pop a bit in there. And then crackling campfire. Jeepers, I will eventually learn to say this, I promise. So that one's going in next. I do apologise if it is ever so slightly sickening. It's just unfortunately the way my setup is with my camera, unfortunately. So I do always speed it up as well, just to try and get you through the horribleness of the bouncing around. But I do think it's important to show the blending on these. And then obviously, as I say, I go back through to the other shade just as I'm going backwards and forwards with these to try and get that as a nice consistent blend between the different shades. And then I think this one seemed to take a bit longer. The Campfire just did not want to blend as well as I wanted it to. And then this is Aged Mahogany, which is going to be my darkest colour. So I'm going to just turn that over now so that I can get a better hold on the paper to blend it in. And also being right-handed, I tend to blend from the right-hand side across to the left. So it's just easier this way. I have used this particular sunset scheme before on a card I did for Thankful Hop earlier. Please do check it out further back if you would like to see that. It was in, I think it was the beginning of November that one was, but it's a really lovely card. It was the Team Tiny Thankful Hop if you would like to see it. So I've also off screen just cut out the word dad, just using some craft card stock, and I'm going to use the Lawn Fawn Really High 5 Happy Birthday sentiment on this. So I just want to roughly work out my positioning. None of these images are yet stuck down, as is the word dad. It was just so I could work out roughly where I wanted my sentiment to go. I'm going to be heat embossing it. So I am going to use my anti-static bag, and that's just the VersaFine ink that I'm going to use, just so you can see it. So I use my anti-static bag to make sure that I only get embossing powder where I actually want it. And then this VersaFine is a pigment ink, so that will make a nice clean impression. She said as she lined everything up, crossed her fingers that it all went perfectly well in the one stamp, which luckily it did. So then I can just take everything else off and bring in my Cosmic Shimmer clear embossing powder, just to pour over there. I'm sorry it's ever so slightly down below the screen, and if anyone heard my other half sneezing in the other room, I also apologise for that as well. So I'm just going to heat my heat tool up and just move those out of the way so they don't blow across the desk at some kind of crazy speed. And then I'm just going to melt that embossing powder. It is still one of my favourite things to watch. I genuinely could just watch embossing powder melt for hours on end. It would make me quite happy and content. So I'm going to reposition my little guys again. So these are all getting positioned in nicely, and the aim is just to have them slightly overhanging, and I'll just trim that panel down. You are, after I've managed to put Cedric down, probably going to, if you can't see me having a nervous breakdown through the camera, you may be able to sense it. I did have a little issue with this one, and that wasn't just that my glue decided it wanted to run out. I do end up switching to a new glue tube. My crisis came when I positioned him and wanted to move him ever so slightly across. The glue had stuck slightly more than I thought it had. So when I went to just squidge him across slightly, I then had a bit of glue sticking out. I went to rub that bit of glue off, and it decided to take up a little bit of my image, which made me want to cry quite considerably. However, I do come up with a little fix to cover it, and you can't really see it after I've done it, so phew was the cry. I'm just using my block there just to weigh those down just as they're going, and then I'm going to stick down the word dad. I am going to do the A first because it's in the middle, and it just, for me, is easier to position that A down first. And I am sorry again if it's just ever so slightly further down on the screen than I thought it was as I was recording it. And then I can just put the other two Ds at either side of that. And I will show you that in a second. I eventually have to give in and get my new glue. But to be fair, this one has lasted me since March, and you've all seen how much crafting I do, so that is, to be fair, pretty impressive, I'm not going to lie. So I'll get those stuck down, and then I will off screen do my little fix. So as part of the stamp set, there is a itty bitty ditty little butterfly with a little butterfly trail. I did try and just recolour the blend, but it didn't work, and it just kind of made it look a little bit messier. So I went with the option that was available to me, which was to stamp something over the top of the space, so it kind of looks a little bit like he may be having a butterfly come out of his bottom slightly. But it works. I added a few more on other parts of the card as well, so it didn't just look like there was randomly one. So it's just that little butterfly up at the top that I actually decided to use. So I'll just show you that. So you can see I've put a few on there so it kind of fits in with it. And I have obviously trimmed off the bits that were overhanging. I have got a 8 1/4 by 3 1/2 card blank, just out of some craft card, which is why I decided to cut the dad out of craft card. And I've stuck some foam tape to the back of my focal panel. I also trimmed my nails on the morning before filming this, so it took a little bit longer to get the release papers off, so I apologise. And then it was just a case of lining that up and centering it on there. Overall, I am chuffed with how the card has turned out. It is really nice. It's exactly what I wanted, apart from having the butterflies on to cover the catastrophic, or what felt to me the catastrophic issue with the glue and the sloth. But you know, it's one of those things as a card maker. I'm sure everyone's had the same things happen to them. But I hope you've enjoyed this card. I'll just let you have a proper close look at that. Luckily my dad is not on YouTube, so we won't see this until his birthday. But I hope you have all enjoyed the film. If you have liked it, please do like. Any comments would be greatly appreciated. And if you don't already subscribe, it would mean a hell of a lot to me if you would. And obviously if you ring the little bell, you'll get a notification. And there's a little peek at the tag I made to go with it too, just as a little bonus. Bye.